The aroma of freshly brewed coffee, the gentle hum of conversation, the soft glow of warm lighting. Coffee shops offer a sense of comfort and familiarity, a refuge from the hustle and bustle of everyday life. They are places where friends reconnect over steaming mugs, where artists find inspiration in the quiet corners, where strangers become acquaintances over shared tables. The clinking of cups, the whirring of espresso machines, these sounds create a symphony of normalcy, a comforting rhythm that lulls us into a sense of security. Imagine settling into a cozy armchair, a warm drink in your hand, the murmur of conversation a comforting backdrop. Suddenly a chill runs down your spine, the hairs on your arms stand on end. A sense of dread washes over you, an unshakable feeling that you are not alone. You glance around, but nothing seems amiss. The barista smiles politely, customers chat amongst themselves, the world continues as if nothing is wrong. But deep down, you know, something is not right. The daily grind was a beloved fixture, its warm glow beckoning passers-by with the promise of freshly brewed coffee. Sunlight streamed through large windows, illuminating the cozy interior adorned with vintage posters. The aroma of roasted beans whispered of warmth and familiarity. Baristas moved with ease, crafting intricate latte art and steaming cups of joe. It was a place where time seemed to slow down, a sanctuary from the chaos of the outside world. But even here, whispers of something darker lurked beneath the surface. It was on a crisp autumn afternoon, as the leaves outside began to turn vibrant shades of gold and crimson, that the unsettling presence first made itself known. The café was abuzz with its usual afternoon crowd, the air thick with the aroma of cinnamon and freshly baked pastries. Baristas called out orders, laughter mingled with the clinking of spoons, and the scent of roasted coffee beans hung heavy in the air. Through the door, a figure stepped in from the bustling street, his entrance marked by a sudden hush, a subtle shift in the atmosphere. He was an older man, his face pale and drawn, his eyes holding a distant, unsettling quality. He wore a long, dark coat that seemed out of place in the warm cafe, its edges frayed and worn. His movements were slow and deliberate, as if each step were an effort.
Can I help you, sir?
As the afternoon wore on, Emma couldn't shake the feeling of unease that had settled over her since the strange man's arrival.
She found herself stealing glances towards his corner, her gaze drawn to the solitary figure huddled over his untouched coffee.
He sat perfectly still, his back straight, his gaze fixed on some unseen point in the distance. Hours passed, and still the man remained, his coffee growing cold in the ceramic mug.
The other customers came and went, their conversations and laughter washing over him like waves against a stone.
But he remained unchanged, an island of stillness in the bustling cafe. It was as Emma was wiping down the counter, her mind preoccupied with the day's dwindling hours, that she noticed the empty corner. Word of the strange occurrence spread quickly amongst the staff at the daily grind. Whispered tales exchanged during quiet moments between customers. Some dismissed it as a trick of the light, a figment of an overworked imagination. Others, however, couldn't shake the feeling that something was amiss.
The next day, as the cafe bustled with its usual morning rush, a black coffee, no sugar, appeared on the counter. There was no one to claim it, no indication of who had ordered it. Emma, her pulse quickening, felt a chill run down her spine. She knew with a certainty that defied logic that the mysterious man had returned.
Tucked away on a quiet side street nestled between a vintage bookstore and a flower shop bursting with vibrant blooms was the Cozy Bean, A cafe that exuded warmth and charm from its very doorstep. Its large windows, adorned with hand-painted lettering that declared "Come in and get cozy," offered a glimpse into a world of comfort and caffeine-fueled creativity.
Inside, the aroma of freshly ground coffee beans mingled with the sweet scent of cinnamon rolls, creating a symphony for the senses that was both invigorating and comforting. The walls, painted a soothing shade of butter yellow, were adorned with local artwork, each piece whispering tales of dreams and inspiration.
Mismatched armchairs, draped in soft throws, beckoned customers to sink into their plush depths and lose themselves in a good book or a lively conversation. For Sarah, the Cozy Bean was more than just a cafe. It was her sanctuary, a haven from the demands of her busy life. Every morning she would make her way through the bustling city streets, her steps quickening as she neared the familiar green awning. It was on a particularly dreary Tuesday morning, the sky weeping with a steady drizzle that mirrored Sarah's own melancholic mood, that she first noticed the initials.
She had settled into her usual spot by the window, a steaming mug of caramel macchiato warming her hands, her gaze lost in the rain-streaked street outside.
As she lifted the mug to her lips, savoring the first sip of the sweet, creamy concoction, her fingers brushed against something etched into the porcelain. It was subtle, almost imperceptible at first, but as she turned the cup in her hands, she realized it was a set of initials, DM.
Sarah frowned, her brow furrowing in confusion. She had never noticed any markings on the cafe's mugs before.
She glanced at the other customers, wondering if they had received similar cups, but they seemed oblivious, their attention focused on their drinks and conversations. As the days turned into weeks, Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that something was amiss. It started subtly, a nagging feeling at the back of her mind that something was not quite right.
At first, she couldn't put her finger on it, but then she realized what it was. The initials. Every time she visited the Cozy Bean, no matter what drink she ordered, the same initials, DM, would be etched into the porcelain of her mug.
It became an unsettling game, a macabre scavenger hunt that she never intended to play. She would turn the cup over in her hands, her fingers tracing the grooves of the letters, her mind racing with questions.
She tried to rationalize it, to convince herself it was just a coincidence.
Driven by a mixture of curiosity and growing apprehension, Sarah decided to confront the cafe manager.
Mrs. Hathaway, a woman with kind eyes and a warm smile that belied a steely resolve, listened patiently as Sarah recounted her experience, her voice barely above a whisper.
As Sarah spoke, she noticed a change in Mrs. Hathaway's demeanor. The warmth in her eyes flickered, replaced by a flicker of fear, a subtle shift in her posture that spoke of a secret burden.
When Sarah finished speaking, silence hung heavy in the air, broken only by the distant hum of the espresso machine. DM, Mrs. Hathaway finally whispered, her voice trembling slightly. Those were the initials of the cafe's previous owner, Daniel Moore. He vanished without a trace 10 years ago. 10.
The words hung in the air, heavy with unspoken truths and a sense of foreboding that sent shivers down Sarah's spine. The old grandfather clock in the corner solemnly chimed twice, announcing the witching hour to the empty cafe. Outside, the city slept, draped in a blanket of darkness, punctuated by the distant hum of traffic and the occasional siren's wail. Inside, the coffee nook, usually bustling with life, stood cloaked in an unsettling stillness. Jason, the lone barista on the late shift, stifled a yawn as he wiped down the counter, the rhythmic squeak of the cloth the only sound disturbing the silence. He hated these late shifts, hated the way the shadows seemed to stretch and contort, hated the oppressive silence that pressed in on him, amplifying every creak of the floorboards and groan of the ancient building.
I long for the familiar buzz of conversation, the clatter of plates, the comforting hiss of the espresso machine, anything to break this unnerving quiet.
Suddenly, a noise sliced through the silence, a faint whisper barely audible. Jason froze, his blood turning to ice. He strained to hear, heart pounding.
Did I imagine it?
Then he heard it again, a breathy whisper, closer this time.
Help me.
Driven by a primal fear, Jason grabbed a heavy metal spoon from the counter. He crept towards the corner, his senses screaming at him to turn back. As he neared the corner, his heart pounded in his chest.
What is that?
He noticed a small, dusty book tucked beneath a table. He picked it up, brushing away the dust. He opened it, seeing a familiar face, a young woman with kind eyes. It was Amelia, a barista who had worked at the coffee nook. The last page held a faded newspaper clipping.
Local barista vanishes without a trace. You'll be next.
Jason's blood ran cold. Amelia had vanished from this very cafe, and now he was hearing her voice, pleading for help from the shadows. He could feel a presence beside him, an icy breath against his ear. And then he heard it, a whisper, louder this time, filled with a chilling malice that made his blood turn to ice.
You'll be next.
He didn't hesitate. Dropping the album, he ran. He didn't look back, didn't stop running until he was blocks away, the cold night air stinging his lungs, his heart threatening to burst from his chest. He never returned to the coffee nook, haunted by the memory of Amelia's voice, the chilling whisper echoing in his nightmares. And so, the coffee nook stands, its warm lights beckoning customers in from the cold, its aroma of roasted beans a siren song in the night. But beneath the veneer of normalcy, a darkness lingers, a chilling reminder that some secrets refuse to be silenced, some whispers refuse to be ignored. As we close the final chapter on these tales of coffee shop horror, a lingering aroma of fear clings to our senses, revealing the unsettling truth that darkness can lurk in the most unexpected of places. The daily grind, once a bustling hub, now stands as a stark reminder that even vibrant places can harbour unseen presences. The Cozy Bean's warmth has been tainted by chilling revelations, secrets refusing to stay buried. The coffee nook's silence is deafening, the aroma of roasted beans now a harbinger of fear. These stories serve as a chilling reminder that the line between the ordinary and the extraordinary is often blurred, easily crossed with a single sip, a fleeting glance, a whisper in the steam. They force us to confront the unsettling possibility that the places we frequent, the rituals we hold dear, may harbour hidden depths, secrets whispered from the shadows, waiting for the opportune moment to reveal themselves. The next time you find yourself settling into your favourite armchair in a cosy coffee shop, the aroma of freshly brewed coffee filling your senses, take a moment to look around. Observe the other patrons, their faces illuminated by the warm glow of the lights, their conversations a comforting murmur in the background. Listen closely to the sounds of the cafe, the clinking of spoons, the hiss of the espresso machine, the murmur of voices. And as you lift your cup to your lips, savour the rich aroma. Let a shiver of awareness run down your spine. For in the swirling steam, in the shadows that dance at the edge of your vision, in the whispers that seem to ride on the air, there may be something more than just coffee brewing. The coffee shops in these tales are more than just settings. They are characters in their own right, each with its own personality, its own secrets, its own darkness lurking beneath the surface. They are microcosms of our own fears and anxieties, Places where the mundane collides with the macabre, where the comforting rituals of daily life can be shattered in an instant. So the next time you step into your favorite coffee shop, remember the tales of whispers from the cup. Remember that even in the most familiar of places, shadows lurk and whispers linger. And be careful what you wish for, because you never know what might be brewing beneath the surface. The daily grind, the cozy bean, the coffee nook, they're all waiting. Open for dread, open for you,